really easy for me to
Yeah,
work with
totally.
Shaz because he'll like call certain stuff and I can just fill in with what Sinatraa was doing before. And then also sometimes I can just say I'm going to do something and then he'll like call around it.
Okay. And so, I mean, the obvious question is like, how do you feel being back in the spotlight and back competing?
Feels very good.
And I've been watching your streams, and you seem to kind of really enjoy streaming more than the competition route. But has your experience so far in Masters kind of influenced you to start kind of getting back into the competitive scene?
Yeah, definitely. Uh, it when I was in the pro scene, it just can be very demotivating if you're putting in so many hours of like trying to be one of the best teams and kind of falling flat.
Right.
So just losing a lot is definitely something that took a toll on my mental. And so when I come back to Masters, even as like a sub and we're winning matches, it feels really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. So yesterday you got to play Jett, Raze, Reyna, and then today you purely stuck with the Jett. You had a lot of success on each map with each of those different agents, but did it just feel better this day or today to just stick with Jett and kind of let Shazam feed you info?
For the most part, it was basically just more of like map pick. So I'll just pick what character fits the map the best.
Right. And so, going double duelist with SicK, what was that kind of confidence like that you had to put in him to kind of, have your back and make sure that those flanks and those backstabs are going correctly?
SicK's a fantastic player, and I can definitely rely on him to get two or three like almost every time.
Right. Awesome. Well, you're going to be going up against FaZe next week. How do you feel going into that matchup?
I feel pretty good. Probably whoever's on point that day will probably take uh spotlight, I'd say.
It's going to be one of those days where it's just whoever is
Yeah. I think playstyle wise, if they're like feeling it, it's kind of hard to play against them, but um other way around, we if we're feeling it, I think it could be quite troublesome for them.
right. Well, and it seems like Sentinels can kind of control some of the aggression that they get from teams, especially from 100 Thieves. There was times where you're able to shut them down. Do you think that you and the rest of the Sentinel squad will be able to kind of temper the aggression of FaZe to your advantage?
We're definitely gonna talk over like the week break that we have to the breaks in the middle of the tournament. So we'll definitely take some time and like discuss what we want to do against it because FaZe does have a very unique play style. Um, yeah, time will tell how we do against it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, and good luck next weekend.
Okay, thank you.
So, obviously, it's never fun to lose, but going in there at the end, what was kind of going through your mind? I mean, the speed of that match just exponentially increased.
Yeah, on Haven we were playing more 2 hour tempo, but we still did a lot of like kind of just like freezes where it was mainly in like the brain and not part of the strat. It was like we just froze, and that was like kind of what was happening all of a sudden. So on Haven, when we were warming up and we were picking up the speed and we were able to like control the map and the flow of the game, that was like more what we're normally doing, especially in practice. And then those moments of hesitation, which is like where Sentinels was able to like rotate over, that was just like I don't know.
Right. Well, and you talk about kind of that freezing up and that hesitation. On Ascent, it seems like Sentinels would kind of bait the aggression, and it caused you guys to kind of scatter a little bit. Was Ascent just a slow start for you guys, or just an off day, or?
It was a slow start, definitely. Usually, like whenever we play, even practice or matches. So if we play a match, we'd normally use like a warm up scrim where we'd play a practice partner, where we would just literally just use that time, not to like run our plays necessarily, but to warm up our brains, warm up the comms, warm up our hands, and just hit our shots. And recently, we've kind of been going in cold, so to speak, just because there's a new game update, and then teams are playing Astra or trying to like fit them into the composition. It's a weekend, it's early in the day. Any of these are reasons why it's harder or more difficult to find a practice partner, or like the teams that are practicing right now are playing in the same tournament we're playing in.
Right.
So it's a little bit more difficult. And then even in practice games, though, we're kind of slow. Like the first half of the first match or first practice game, we're like really bad. And then like starting the second half and like the further games, we start to warm up. So that's why Ascent was like a really bad start. And then like, it's hard to come back from like a 10-2 start if you don't like instantly win out right there.
Right. Well, I mean, it's become kind of the common thing on Reddit and on Twitter. People talk about you have to get those early rounds on 100 Thieves, or else you're kind of screwed in the late game. Um, Playing Cypher against a team like Sentinels in that information game, kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, it's nothing different really about my role specifically against a team like Sentinels. It's what everyone else does while I'm doing my role. So, I mean, everyone has a specific job, and everyone's like agent and everyone's role within the team has their own jobs to do. And my job necessarily isn't to go and acquire info. I do that, and Cypher can do that, but it's on like everyone to kind of like know what to do based off the information I'm giving or based off the information that they're not getting. So if everything's quiet and the enemy already knows where I am and they've like destroyed my abilities, it's very likely that they're going to just be grouping up and going to where I am if they know I'm there, and then just walk in. And it's on us to kind of be proactive and be one step ahead of that. And it's something that we just haven't been doing recently. And I think that's why, it looks like Sentinels is just able to just shift, walk around, and get into whatever position that they want to be in.
Right, right. Well, and you guys recently just picked up Ethan, and he's been performing extremely well. What's been the process of incorporating him into the team and kind of developing a playbook?
We've just been kind of, well, he's been on one agent, so that's not that makes it easier for things. And it's like the agent that's most similar to Counter-Strike, I guess, which is you have a flash, you have smokes, and you can offer them for your teammates. But we've been kind of like expanding a lot of things all at the same time. So different pairings on defense, different types of passive setups, different types of aggressive setups. On attack, we've been doing all sorts of different plays, fast plays, slow plays, lots of like defaults and different ways to do a default and mask what we're doing, and then different like ender rounds as well. So we've been doing all of those in practice, and our practice games have been going pretty well, but we've been like playing like a certain speed, and we've been able to take everything and do everything, and we're given everything. And sometimes like when you're just winning a lot of the time in practice, you don't see what the issues are, and you don't really, if someone doesn't fight back, and you don't kind of be like, oh well, this team's doing this, like what do we do next? Like you kind of have to go through some of those as growing pains, where you're not just going to come in and steamroll everything right from the get-go and just keep that foot on the pedal. Sometimes you're just going to have to kind of walk into a brick wall and then just be like, okay, I know how to knock this down now.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And next up, you guys got Gen G you're going up against next weekend. How do you feel going into that matchup?
I feel pretty good about that. We beat them the last two times that we played them, and I think that was with Ethan already on the roster. Maybe one of them was still with Dicey. I don't remember specifically. I know that we did play them recently in the Challengers 3 qualifier to make it to where we were in the top 2 of that qualifier. And that was with Ethan. So I think we are pretty good against them. I think that we stay a step ahead. I think our players have more experience than their players. I see that a lot of the things that they do is stuff that they are copying from other teams. Some of the things that we've done against them, they use in our next game that we play against them, right? Or like their next match against someone else. So I know that they're like always constantly like improving and adapting and implementing things that they see in all their games, all their losses, and even other teams' games when they're not even like in a match. And I think that's something that means that when we go into playing against them, like what happened, what the last match we saw between us two, it's not going to be the same the next time we play, because we've adapted and implemented new things and new protocols, and they've done the same. So it's going to be like kind of like a meta battle.
Okay. Nice. And do you think that kind of that jack of all trades, master of none style has affected, Gen G's growth and performance, or do you think it fits kind of their team well and their roster well?
I don't think it's necessarily like a jack of all trades, master of none. I think what they're doing is they're taking what works for other teams and incorporating into like what works with them.
Okay.
Their team has like predominantly Counter Strike background. I used to be teammates with Kusta, MC. Their coach used to be my coach in CS as well. So, there's a lot of like overlap with how we approach the game and how we like to play with their players and their coach. So um, I don't think it's necessarily master of none, jack of all trades. I think it's like, let's take what these guys do that is in our style and let's use that as well.
Okay. Nice. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, and good luck next weekend.
Thank you.
All right. So, first things first, all that everyone is talking about on Twitter right now is how underrated your Phoenix pick is. How
Mm,
does it feel to have people like not finally giving you that recognition, but like
mhm.
people really starting to see like, oh, this guy's kind of cracked.
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, like you said, I've been getting recognition for a couple months now, so it's just like reinforcing that idea that to myself that I am like a good player and I can contend with the best. But it's really given me like a second breath of life from like CS. Like in CS, I kind of felt lost to an extent. So Valorant gave me like a really big boost in confidence, and I look forward to the future. Yeah.
That's awesome. And last time you guys faced 100 Thieves, it was at the First Strike main event, and it was a very different story. How does it feel to kind of get that revenge and get that win over them and prove that you're better than them?
It felt really good. I mean, I felt at first like when we faced them the first couple times, I was a little bit worried because they're like a brand new team and they have like all these smart players and they had like a counter to our style in a sense. But actually, we played them in one of the qualifiers for this event and we beat them like 13-6, 13-4. So coming to this match, I was more confident than ever before against them. More so than way back then at first strike. I didn't have that much confidence, but now it's like we really know we can beat them. So that's good.
Right. And how do you feel about the development of Sentinels and then, your own personal development since First Strike?
It's been really exciting. Like, it's been exciting to see like how well our team adapts to whatever bad situations we might be in, and how we play against our opponents. All of it's like really impressive, and I'm really happy with how we're doing.
Right. How did you kind of prepare to play with TenZ and kind of what was that transition period like of getting him ready to play with the team?
Well, it was mostly up to Shazam because he's our IGL, but I think most of it was just like making sure he's super comfortable and not. It's gonna sound weird, but not giving him too much like into depth stuff because we don't want him to have to worry about like, oh, how do I do this or that. We just kind of said like, on our defense for him to like roam a lot and on attack to just follow the pack basically, and that's all we did. We didn't do too much prep, and I think that helped us to an extent because people didn't really know what we're doing. It's like, oh, this is what are you guys doing? But
Right. Stick to
yeah,
basics.
yeah, exactly.
And so, how did you feel going into that first match against Luminosity? Were pretty confident?
Um, yeah, I'd say we're more confident than normal because normally when we're playing with Sinatraa, we have a certain expectation for ourselves because we know we've been doing well. But with TenZ, it's like we didn't necessarily have to do well to prove anything. Like people just expected us to lose, honestly. So it kind of lifted the pressure off our shoulders and gave us a lot of confidence going into that match. Yeah.
Okay. And so, let's talk about confidence. Round 17 on Haven, the backstab to shut down 100 Thieves. You were able to aggressively roam on Haven throughout the entire match. Was that just purely confidence in your team, and Shaz to feed you the information and for TenZ to hold it down? Or kind of like what kind of sparked that play for you?
We kind of realized we were being info starved a bit. Basically, like we didn't know where they were going ever, so we decided to like push down mid and flank them. And I just like randomly popped my ult and killed them in the back. So I think it was just a thing of like we were kind of getting frustrated and we had to show them like we can stop this like default they're doing or whatever. So
Right.
yeah, I don't think it was anything too special. It's just on the fly thing we decided to do.
Okay. And so let's kind of talk about how your role has changed now that Shazam is on that Sova. Do you feel like, him being able to feed you information has allowed you to be more aggressive? Or like kind of how have you guys evolved together?
Um, yeah, it's honestly good for Shazam to be on Sova because he's the IGL, obviously. So it makes it a bit easier for us to understand what he wants to do because he sees a bunch of stuff with his drone in his start and he's like feeding all this info. So I think it definitely helps on the maps he does play Sova, but it's the same thing as when Sinatraa was playing Sova. But I'm really impressed with how he's doing, at least like even though he barely plays Sova. Yeah.
Right. And so, my last question for you, you're going up against FaZe next weekend. How do you feel going into that matchup?
Historically, we've been pretty good against them, but the problem is we haven't like scrimmed against this new comp they're running with the breach and stuff. And I think that gives their aggression a bit more of like a measured approach instead of just like Baby Bay dashing in by himself.
Right.
So I think we'll have to be a bit more cautious against them. But if we can figure out how they play early on, then I think we'll have a good shot as we always do against them.
Right. And actually, I have one more question for you because there was a one point where you played Sage, and we've seen that pick come out from you every now and then. What was the inspiration for you to just kind of pick up Sage every now and then?
Well, at the start of the game, I played Sage like as my main, but I started to realize like, that's not a way to play because all these teams are running like Phoenix and Jett or Raze and Jett and stuff like this. So I felt like a lot of time we were being like out aggressed on, basically like out aimed. So I started to switch into like maining Phoenix and like sometimes playing Sage and stuff like that. But Sage is like nice because it's a nice change of pace. Like I don't like playing the same agent all the time. So
Right.
yeah,
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, man, and good luck next week.
no problem. Thank you.
So, I talked to you last time right after you guys had lost to 100 Thieves at First Strike. How does it feel, kind of dealing back the damage and beating them?
It feels good. We lost 100 Thieves, and unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of practice before that at First Strike. And then we came back and beat them at JBL, and people were discrediting it because they were streaming. And then we went ahead and beat them in Challengers 2 again in a pretty dominant fashion. And that's when people started realizing, okay, like, Sentinels, First Strike might not have been the true Sentinels, without practice. And once again, I feel like we beat them pretty dominantly. The second map, obviously, we let them back and do it. But we have a tendency to do that. First map, I feel like we still made a statement. So it just feels happy that, now we've won the last 3 matchups versus 100 Thieves.
Yeah, no, definitely. And 100 Thieves has that reputation of really coming alive late game and making those plays. How do you feel about the development of Sentinels as a team since First Strike? Obviously, I know you're playing with TenZ, but so far, how do you feel like you guys have grown and developed?
I think we've definitely grown to be not just the team that at the start that just brute forces new site, kind of like how FaZe is playing right now. We've become way more tactical. We've learned how to info starve teams better now and play slower, like we did on that Haven attack. Um, it's just I think this also TenZ was the best possible replacement for us, but it also proves to the rest that the 4 rest of us stick to our fundamentals and we can still make it work regardless of plugging someone in last minute.
Right, definitely. And I talked with SicK just a few minutes ago, and he was talking about how, when you guys were working TenZ in the lineup, you didn't want to make it too complicated. You want to stick to basics. Was there any kind of special talks that you and TenZ had? Any special strats that you guys wanted to work on, or was it basically just, kind of on the fly?
So the first day, the first match, we got on an hour early, and I just went over all the maps and talked about, the stuff that our previous teammate did if he was playing that role, or the things that I would do, and I would just like crash course him on it. And we managed to get 2 scrims in yesterday, which helped a lot. One of them was on Haven. It was my first time really playing Sova on Haven in that scrim. So it helped me get comfortable and helped us realize, okay, maybe we shouldn't plug TenZ into exactly what I was doing on Jett because I wasn't really roaming for kills. I was just controlling long A with info. So I decided to do that, what I was doing with Jett, with Sova on defense, and just control long A with info with Sova's abilities, which are really good for that. And then TenZ can roam around and get kills. So it's a little bit different from how we were playing Haven before, but we managed to make it work with just 1 scrim and talking about it. And that's the key to this game, is just talking about how you want to play things and be on the same page.
Right. And you've teased with the Sova a little bit on Bind before in the past. But now that you've kind of fully taken up that role with Sova, how do you feel and how do you feel that you are benefiting your team better than, being on that Jett?
We just wanted to make sure that TenZ is the most comfortable he can be to make his plays and go for kills because, he's just really good aimer and he's really good at making plays and getting away, getting us that man advantage. And Sova is a character I can control the pace of rounds with and IGL with as well. so I didn't feel too uncomfortable. I just played like ranked all night playing Sova, watched a ton of YouTube videos for lineups. Literally mid match, I had my phone open on pictures of like the lineups, just so if I forgot, like I'm like, hold on, guys, like make sure nobody's around me. Okay, like nobody's gonna kill me while I'm looking at my phone. Like, okay, this lineup's for this shock dart, and then I did that. But I'm pretty happy with the way I'm playing Sova right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely at the end there at Haven, it seemed like you being able to drone just enabled SicK to go in and just absolutely dominate. It seems like your Sova has given your team a lot more confidence. Do you think that you'll stick with that Sova role even if you bring somebody else in to replace TenZ permanently?
I don't know. We're really just focused on Masters right now, and we don't know what the future looks like. I definitely preferred playing Jett and opping since that's what I did in CS, and I'm really comfortable with. But if this is the transition I need to make for our team, then like I'm gonna do it. It all depends on what the future is after Masters.
Right. And I mean, next up in Masters, you guys are going up against FaZe. How are you feeling about that matchup?
Pretty good. They're playing really confident, and they're looking like a scary team, so we're not going to underestimate them. But historically, we've always won this matchup. We have a good read on how they play. They're just looking a little more disciplined now. Just gonna do my prep work. Gonna get ready with these week of scrims we have before our match on Friday, I think.
And do you feel like this is going to be more of a situation where you match their aggression or you're kind of tempering and controlling their aggression?
I think this is a situation where we're going to prove that we can play both styles. We can match their aggression when we need to, and we can also sit back and let them make the mistakes and the bad peaks when we also need to. It's about how we've evolved as a team and how differently we're playing now than before.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Congratulations on making it this far and doing so well, and good luck next weekend.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.